Welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast with your hosts, Joshua Poniatowski and Alex Taylor. Let's talk football.
Hello, and welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast. My name is Joshua Poniatowski, and I'm here with Alex Taylor.
What up?
So this week, as always, we're going to be talking about Week 7 observations. But before we jump into everything, Alex, what do you believe is the most important time of the fantasy season for fantasy players? What do you think the most important time of the year is for them?
That's tough. How big? Like a specific week or like a month, basically?
Let's say, so it was a couple weeks. We'll give it a couple weeks. So let's say like 3 to, 2 to 4 weeks, somewhere around there. Give you a range.
I almost feel like it might be the very beginning. I just think you need to set a base. There is one. It's more competitive because everyone's engaged. Like all your other league members are engaged week 1. Like everyone's hyped. You know, you start to get into the playoffs. Like there's some people who are just like, they don't care. They're out of it. They're not bidding on anybody. So one, you're more competitive in that regard. 2, there's a lot more uncertainty in like the waiver wire. Like you get a lot more like traps. Like Isaiah Likely just blowing up for however many 2 scores week 1, and you get excited, and everyone's like, how he's the truth, he's the real deal. Then so you get a lot of those where in those first couple weeks you get excited about a player and they end up just totally fizzling out, and then it just, when you get an early lead, if you start like 3-0, it as far as like trading and stuff like that, you get a little bit more comfortable. You're a little bit more like, all right, I can play around a little bit. I don't have to like stress out because I literally have to win this next couple of weeks. So I think starting strong is a key, and it's something I feel like my team's always finish strong and never start strong. So maybe that's why. Maybe it's because I need to do better at the beginning. So maybe that's just part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I get everything you're saying with setting the tone and making sure you're having a good start. And obviously the draft is critical, making sure you're setting yourself up not for a terrible first couple of weeks. For me, I feel like right now, like mid-season, this is the time that's most important because, like you mentioned, like everybody's hyped early on, but this is where like the fizzle happens, right? We're through the honeymoon phase of fantasy football. We're through all the hype. Now it's the grinding time, like the weeks where you got to make sure you're watching waiver wire, trying to make trades, trying to make deals, looking to playoffs. So I think the middle weeks, and some of you might disagree with us and be like, well, the playoffs are the most important because you're literally playing in the playoffs, which also makes sense. But I feel like these middle weeks, from a grinding perspective,
for sure,
it can lose its kind of that likability and that love, and especially if you don't do well, right? Like if you're 5-7 or whatever your schematics is for the game, it can be tough on that side of making decisions and just giving up or not giving it your all at that point. So I think it's a critical point. It's a grinder point. You got to make sure that you are on top of your game mid-season. Talking about mid-season and talking about mid-season changes. So the NFL came out and they just said, we are going to change the Week 8 schedule. Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, the matchup that was at 4:25, you are old news. We are moving you to the 1:00 game, and Washington and the Bears, Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams. It's the new young Bucs on the block. What do you think about that? The 4:25 game next week is supposed to be that.
I'm excited for that. I think it's gonna be a great matchup. The 1 and 2, playing off against each other. I know Mariota and Winston played off each other when they were drafted 1-2. I know that because Jameis threw a pick 6 on the first play of that game. But I don't know how many times you really get that opportunity. But I think it goes to show how quickly they've transitioned and picked it up, and then even Drake May's looking good. It's kind of like it's fun when you get these good years of QB drafts, because more times than not, the QB draft classes are terrible. So
Absolutely.
it is. I mean, it is kind of funny that because Jalen and Burrow are still like elite quarterbacks, so it's pretty bold.
Absolutely.
Pretty
Yes,
bold
for sure.
of them
They're great.
to move on, but
who would you rather watch, honestly? Like, if you had to decide, like, of those two games, and you had to pick one of those.
I mean, I guess maybe Eagles Bengals might be a better game.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, more exciting. Yeah, I get that. I have more Eagles players this year, so I'm definitely watching that game. But watching the rookies, for sure. They probably want to showcase their talent, right? That way there's not a bunch of games on, forcing everybody to watch these young uppercomers and maybe get attached to them. Unfortunately, Jayden is week to week, so hopefully that rib injury is okay. So all of their planning.
Timing.
Yeah, exactly. So all that planning.
We're going to do this big move.
For not. Yeah. All right. Well, jumping into week 7 observations now. We're going to talk about waiver wire, buy low targets, sell high trade targets. But the NFL coaches have literally been falsely reporting injuries, have been saying players are good to go, starting them, then 3 plays in, deciding, okay, they're not good to go. Like, this has been all year long, setting the tone from week 1 with CMC. So here's just a quick list of just this week the players that happened to. Cooper Kupp, Juju Smith-Schuster, Jordan Whittington, Deebo Samuel, Romeo Doubs, and Deontay Johnson. At what point does the league decide to make some type of change to this landscape that kind of has just popped up this year?
Yeah, I don't know if this is like a copycat situation where like somebody found, someone found the loophole and now everyone's like, all right, we're all going to do that. But yeah, this week was bloody. There was some incredibly low scores in some of my leagues where like embarrassingly low. And it was just like, how is this possible? I don't know. It's pretty tough. It's like, I don't know. Some of them, you got a little. I mean, Cooper Kupp, we found out a little bit ahead of time, and
for sure.
But they're still saying he might not even play Thursday. But
some of these guys literally played snaps, though, legitimately 2 snaps or 3 snaps, and then we're like, all right, we're pulling them off the field. And like, obviously, from a fantasy perspective, that sucks. But the league is constantly mentioning gambling, like they are promoting it nonstop.
That's true.
So, like, how are you going to promote gambling and then these players are not being, disclosed fairly when making those decisions? And I'm a little perturbed because I bet on Romeo Doubs and Juju this week, and
first-hand experience.
Like, okay, so a little upset about that.
Yeah, I'm sure something in the off-season, like owners meeting, someone will bring it up and be like, all right, we got to start doing some cracking down on people and just get them some fines. Sometimes they start deducting draft picks, something like that. But how about Russ cooking last night against the Jets? He ended as the highest scoring QB in the Sunday night game slots. Tomlin, he took some flack over the decision to go with Russell Wilson over Fields. He was 4-2. Everyone's like, why would you? Don't change it. You're 4-2. Keep Fields in. But that man was vindicated with a great performance over a pretty good Jets defense.
They've been great.
If you're watching, Russ. I mean, he had lucky in a couple crazy circus catches. Pickens had one bounce off the guy's helmet, and then the Muth had like a diving one-handed catch. So he got a little lucky on some of his big plays. But I mean, overall, he was dealing 264 passing yards, 3 total touchdowns. I mean, and he was looking for Pickens early, often, and deep. They didn't really connect. They drew a couple penalties. But I mean, Josh, do you think Pickens has a shot to finish as a top 15 receiver on the year?
Yeah, I mean, he's floating around 22 right now in PPR because that one big game that he just had. Top 20 realistic. I think top 15 is optimistic. But I've been high on Pickens for years since his rookie campaign. Me and Alex, we're in a dynasty league. I've been trying to get Pickens from this one of our buddies, Christian, for almost a year and a half now. Just hasn't happened. So yeah, I've been high on Pickens. He is I think a elite wide receiver that's undervalued because of how terrible his quarterbacks have been. They were looking like Tom Brady, Randy Moss, prime years, just chucking the ball, setting back the clocks. It was a little crazy to watch. I don't know if I'm that confident on Russ moving forward, but it looked good. And any type of upgrade at quarterback from a pass catching perspective, Pickens is a lot better, and I feel like you can feel more confident starting him more consistently. So, yeah, you got to feel good about that if you're a Pickens owner. The Doo-Doo Browns just became the Doo Browns, so they went from a lot of poop to just single poop. Deshaun Watson, yeah, just a little.
A shirt, maybe.
Yes, exactly. They upgraded. Deshaun Watson goes down with an Achilles injury. Obviously, we never want people to get injured, but that's unfortunately what happened. Nick Chubb came back with a vengeance, scoring a touchdown. I did not see him getting that much work, but who else are they going to put in there, honestly, at that point? After Watson went down, though, Dorian Thompson came in. He literally is Justin Fields, but less athletic, I want to say. So he wasn't throwing the ball very well. He could run great. And then they put Jameis in, which we talked about this, multiple times, multiple weeks. And I feel like the fans know a little bit more than the coaches every once in a while when it comes to quarterbacks. Jameis came in. He literally threw a touchdown to Njoku. Do you think any Browns players are viable now, or we need to wait and see? Like, what are your perspective on the Browns kind of situation?
Oh, well, I mean, I'll dive into this a little bit in the waiver wire too. But I mean, if the word is out that Dorian Thompson isn't playing, like, and Jameis is fired up for a couple weeks, Njoku's probably top 5 tight end. I think Jeudy's got a decent shot, at least giving you like something of value.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I've been calling the Browns cursed all season, and I don't know. Maybe it seems like the curse is starting to lift. I can see through the clouds a little bit. Jameis is also just hilarious from a press conference, locker room interview. I mean, he was kind of somber talking about Deshaun Watson, but like just anytime that man gets to speak on camera, it is wild.
It's great.
So
I think he'll be a head coach at some point, just from that. I mean, if he wants to, like he gets the team going. He's gonna motivate you. Like, you're gonna be excited to play for the guy. All those things at quarterback. So I think it's a definitely morale boost from a Browns perspective, fans and team alike.
Man, so Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are now the NFL's only unbeaten team at 6-0, despite the fact that Mahomes is now tied for the NFL lead in interceptions at 8 with Jordan Love and Minshew Mania. With that, he only has 6 touchdowns, 2 less. Now, Superflex, sure, maybe he warrants keeping. But Josh, if you're in a 1 quarterback league, is Mahomes droppable at this point?
Yeah, it's tough. If I had Mahomes, I probably would not drop him. It's hard to drop him. I don't think he's top 20 quarterback right now. The Chiefs honestly haven't really been throwing the ball much because their offense or defense has been so good. Like, the ground defense has been solid. They're only giving up 17 points a game, so they haven't really needed to open up and sling it like they had in the past. They still have a top 10, yards per game percentage, so they're still throwing it somewhat. I don't think I could drop him. I would probably either hold or seek trade value. Again, this is him at his probably bottom. But yeah, it's tough. I got Mahomes in Dynasty, so it's rough to watch.
I know you mentioned him as possibly like top 20. He's ranked 22 on the year at 22. The moment. So
yeah, so outside the top 20 is what I meant.
Given he has had his bye when most teams have not, so but fringe top 20 maybe at best.
Still, yeah. So I'm stashing the man, probably just holding on to him. You probably won't get a whole lot of crazy value. Maybe he gets 1 or 2 pop-off games, and then you can ship him out. But the Chiefs get it done with literally nothing, and it's infuriating. We could probably vent on that for forever. Talking about venting, the Niners just not looking like the Super Bowl Niners. Are they a Super Bowl team anymore? Like, what do you think they are that caliber?
I don't know. Watching that Lions-Vikings game yesterday was so good. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. One of those two probably. I mean, even the Packers looked really good against the Texans, who are a great team. And that NFC North is just stacked. My Bucs could maybe make a move. I don't know, but yes, the Niners. They're one of those teams that because of their history, you can't really rule them out because of how consistent they've been for a while. But they're always kind of like unlucky. They get some crazy injuries. Things like this just happen to them. Kinda. So would I really like confidently bet on them? Probably not. But I also I wouldn't want my Bucs to go up against them in the playoffs. I'd be like, oh,
I gotcha.
It's going to happen, and Purdy's going to look good, and they're going to CMC's back. I mean, we got to see what happens when CMC gets back. And they have Jordan Mason. Like, do they both still flourish and look good? I don't know.
Yeah. I honestly don't know either as a Niners fan. It's tough to watch them play, and hopefully CMC gives them the injection that they need, and we just hand the ball off 40 times a game and win football games. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the last 3 games, Purdy has 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So
yeah, it's not great. And it doesn't help when your wide receiver 2, who just paid $120 million, goes down and has done absolutely nothing all year. So,
but
Ayuk's on IR.
That proves why you hold out and you get your money, because that can happen to you at any given moment, in in this world. So
I get it. Smart business decision. All right, we're going to move over to the waiver wire pickups. Remember, these are guys that are typically available in over 50% of leagues. There is one exception on this list, which is who I'm starting with. Romeo Doubs. In Sleeper, he's rostered in 63% of leagues, rightfully so. But when I was looking at it, ESPN only 37% and Yahoo only 44%. So I felt like absolutely needed to mention this man. Since complaining about his reps, which apparently that works, even when you're an adult and getting paid millions of dollars, huge increase in targets. He saw 10 targets last week. Green Bay is going up against Detroit and Jacksonville in the next 2 weeks, who both those games, Green Bay should be able to put up massive points. Yeah, Detroit should be a shootout. Jacksonville has the worst pass offense in the league. So if he's available, you can pick him up, and I feel like definitely start him in the flex spot if you need a flex spot for the next 2 weeks. So, I mean, I would roll him out if I had him and I needed a flex start.
Just the Packers wide receiver room is just like the ultimate flex gamble.
It is
at any given week.
Yeah.
One of them's popping off. So I'm not anti the guy. I mean, he went from 8 targets a couple weeks ago to 4 to back to 10. Mm-hmm. So he's going to get you sometimes. He's just not going to consistently be getting you any. But another wide receiver that we talked about a little bit earlier is Jeudy. He's sitting right around the 50% range. He was a little bit lower last week, but then after the Amari trade, he got a little bit of hype, so he got picked up. He didn't really deliver. He only caught 1 of 5 targets for 18. But kind of what we were just talking about a little while ago, if Jameis does get the start, then I'm getting excited. I think it could be a juicy little spot start during some of these buys.
Yeah, that is the only way and even then, it's tough. But yeah, Jameis has to be the starter and has to be announced a starter and has to be their guy. If not, then, we're back to first rounds and them running the ball for sure. My guy, another wide receiver, Jauan Jennings. We just talked about Ayuk going on IR. Debo has been banged up all year. Jauan Jennings, 49ers wide receiver 2. He should be slotted directly into that wide receiver 2 role. The 1 week he was a true wide receiver 2, where he saw about an 85% snap share, he had 175 yards and 4 touchdowns. The Niners have to find a way to get going, and when he moved into that role and saw, a uptick in usage, maybe he's, they're kind of shining light in this situation. So, and with CMC coming back, maybe that opens up a little bit more things for everybody. But yeah, Jauan Jennings, 29% rostered in leagues, so he could be a flex play or at least a stash and maybe sell later based on his production kind of guy.
I think everyone remembers that Jauan Jennings game. And I can only imagine how many people picked him up that week and then kind of hasn't really done much. And they probably maybe just decided to drop him. And then Ayuk gets hurt, and now they're like, God, no, give me him
Yep,
back, give me him back.
Now I gotta spend more fab. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna stay in the same team, the same situation. I'm gonna talk about Ricky Pearsall, the wide receiver rookie out of Florida. He did get to make his debut after suffering that gunshot wound that he suffered right before the season started. It really jammed him up. He also didn't do much, kind of how I had Jeudy not really do much, but catching only 3 of his 5 targets for 21 yards. But similar to Jauan Jennings, it's all about the Ayuk injury and what it's going to open up for him, some increased opportunities. This is more of, I think Jauan Jennings might be more of a now play. Like you're hoping he strikes now in the next couple of weeks. I think Ricky Pearsall is more of a long-term, like season building game. He has to kind of work in these reps, work in, what plays are designed for him. I think he's one of the guys who, like if I picked him up, I would not want to start him in the next 2 to 3 weeks. No. But come fantasy playoff time, I think maybe he's clicking in that offense and he could be like a legit wide receiver 3 flex option then.
Yeah, I mean, the rookie wide receivers typically get better usage as the year goes on, especially if Jauan Jennings doesn't perform. What I will say, though, is the Niners typically only run like 31% of their plays out of 11 personnel sets and, 3 wide receiver sets there. So it's tough as far as like opportunity goes. But if he does move into that wide receiver 2 role because Jauan Jennings isn't there, even though, he's typically a slot guy, it could definitely be a low end wide receiver 3 kind of flex option as time goes on. Absolutely. Zach Ertz moving into the tight end landscape that we all know and love. 41% rostered in leagues. Even with Jayden Daniels out, Washington proved that they were able to move the ball. Marcus Mariota kind of looked sneaky good. I mean, he wasn't, Jayden Daniels good, but he put up points, and maybe Jayden Daniels is a system quarterback, and all of that is for not. No, absolutely not. But he put up 4 catches, 40 yards, touchdown. You can't overlook that. He's not going to be a huge boom guy. He's going to be a maybe PPR. I'm going to get 4 to 6 targets, get 40 yards, maybe sneak a touchdown in there, 8 to 10 points. Sometimes in this tight end landscape, like that's what Sam Laporte is giving you, if that some weeks. So, I think
don't even get me started on Sam Laporte.
I know. Yeah, and they're playing Chicago this week. So Chicago's been great against the pass, but they've given up some points to tight ends. Top 10 worst against tight ends. So could be a sneaky tight end play this week.
The tight end I'm kind of looking at, who we've talked about a couple of times. Seems like we talk about him about once every 4 games.
Yeah,
Hunter Henry.
Yeah, bring him back. Mm-hmm.
He's the yo-yo experience. You throw him down, comes back up. Throw him down, comes back up. Currently sitting at 35% ownership. The reason I'm kind of shifting back in his favor is just because Drake May does appear to at least look decent. I mean, it's a little early to tell, and he did just play the Jags, so we'll see. But he looked reasonable, and and rookie quarterbacks tend to like a good, reliable tight end. So I think he's got a sneakily, modestly safe floor, maybe moving forward. Again, to quote Michael Scott, no doubt about it, I'm ready to get hurt again.
Yes.
The yo-yo is back.
Yeah. I mean, again, PPR standpoint, only thing I'm worried about this week is they're playing the Jets, even though the Jets just got smashed by the Steelers. So that's the only thing I'm worried about. But he's not going to have any of the top cornerbacks on him, even though they do have some elite linebacker core with Quincy Williams and those guys. But yeah, I mean, need tight end, looking for PPR upside, boom upside. He definitely holds it for sure. And Drake May, I agree, has definitely looked better than most rookie
definitely
quarterbacks
Jacoby.
this year. Yeah, Jacoby for sure, absolutely. They were like, you know what? He all of a sudden looks good, so let's start our rookie. Like I get waiting for the rookie, but you just you're trying to sell your season if you know this guy's performing in practice. Like who made the decision that week 6 is the week that we're starting this main, or week 5. It was week 5, right? Yeah. So on the quarterback train, Tua Tagovailoa, 45% rostered. When he was healthy, Tua was passing the ball over 30 times a game. Miami is going to literally want to open up the playbook and just put up so many points. Mike McDaniels is probably frothing at the bit, just waiting for this man to come back so he can actually run a real offense. Obviously, it's a risky play this week, but they're going up against Arizona's defense, who is soft, top 10 worst in the league against the pass. Could be a plug and play, risky. We still don't know if he's going to go or not. But if you desperate need a QB, a lot of people have dropped him at this point, so you could pick him up.
Yeah, I mean he's got a fringe. I think he was like a fringe top 10 quarterback at best, even like pre all this. But I get maybe you're like they're desperate and they're going to be slinging it and they got to win now. So I like it. I don't know if I'm trusting him totally yet, though.
I agree. If you're in a tough spot, sure. If your choice is Daniel Jones, and I'm going to. I don't, even though Daniel has some rushing upside, but I'm still going in that direction. And just some quick honorable mentions. Jameis Winston, obviously gunslinger, 8 interceptions, 8 touchdowns. Tyler Goodson, running back 2, backup. He's been serviceable. And this is a crazy one. Jake Bobo. DK Metcalf is week to week. He's got a cool name, just like the Bub guy. So, I just decided to throw him in there. Yes, Bud means. So Jake Bobo. So, throw him in there. 0% rostered, and maybe he'll see targets.
Bobo.
So we're gonna transition over to the trade section of the talk. But before we get into the trade talk section, I just want to take a quick victory lap about absolutely crushing Amari Cooper and talking about this man and not giving up on the hope that he was going to be traded to the Bills or Jameis was going to come in. And literally within 1 week, both of those things happened. Literally both. So regardless of if he gets traded or not, it has happened for the most part. And I've seen so many people add Amari to their trade target list, and I'm just like, man, should have been listening a couple weeks ago. You wouldn't have to pay high premium for him. All right.
He got a little lucky. He wasn't super involved. Only the 4 catches for 66, but he did have that touchdown in there, which was nice. And you see Keon Coleman telling him which way to run before the route.
Yes, absolutely. He was like, "What play is this?" And
sometimes the NFL is just backyard football. Just go down there. I'm gonna throw it to you. Right. We'll be okay.
Get open, get in the end zone. So that was cool. I think I'll get more involved as time goes on. Absolutely, obviously learn the plays. Wide receiver 1 in Buffalo is always a good thing, and it's definitely an upgrade from the Browns.
I think it helps Keon Coleman too, as the rookie, not having to deal with top defenders the whole time.
And we saw that, right? We saw that he was the leading receiver in that game. So and it looked like the Bills of late, right? Like it was interesting because typically they've only been passing the ball 50, like one of the league lowest, like 52%, pass versus run type of scheme. So it'll be interesting if they change that up at all now that they have Amari, and it opens up some doors for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was Josh Allen was the only quarterback to go over 300 yesterday.
Yeah, and that's the first time all year. Like Josh Allen's averaging like 212 yards a game, which is pitiful for him. So we'll see kind of moving forward, but still his value has drastically increased. So if you bought him, you're sitting good, sitting pretty with him right now. As far as mid-season trade targets go, my perspective is a little bit different at this point. So some of these trade targets I'm going to talk about aren't like go out and trade this guy right now or go out and buy this guy right this second. But I like to look ahead to the playoffs and look at strength of schedule and target opportunities for the playoffs that I know are going to be great matchups. So some of these guys that I share with you, they're not going to be buy low, not necessarily going to be sell high guys. These are just going to be more so guys that I think you should consider trying to make a move with, especially with the playoffs going to be here. Even though we're 8 weeks away for some of y'all, it's something you need to pay attention to and be aware of. So my sell high option, Alex, you're not going to like this at all, is Brian Thomas Jr. You told us to buy him a couple weeks ago, which was a great move because he's
awesome.
Popped off, and people are finally coming around.
Wide receiver 3 this week.
And people are he's top 15 wide receiver right now. People are finally coming around to be like, wow, Brian Thomas Jr. is good, and he is the wide receiver 1 in that offense. So it is going to be hard to let
down. They are always losing.
They
games.
They're gonna.
They won this week. They won this week, but
they did. Yeah, but but they're London's team though, so they had that good juju. They were there for 2 weeks, right?
They couldn't suck back to back in London.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not saying sell this man right this second. Like, don't take good value, but the Jags right now are 2-5. I don't see them being contenders moving forward unless something crazy happens. Doug Peterson probably won't even be there in the coming weeks. They have the hardest strength of schedule in the playoffs. They have Tennessee, Jets, Rams are okay, and then Tennessee again. So all these teams, maybe they're going to be dead, so it won't matter at that point. But it's, the Jags are also going to be dead at that point potentially. So just something to keep an eye on. Don't sell him, go out and sell him right this second. Alex shared why, because his strength of schedule the next couple of weeks. But as the trade deadline's coming up, I think he is an awesome sell option to get a guy with a better strength of schedule and maybe equal value to him moving forward.
Yeah, sometimes the game between sometimes the games between a couple of dead teams are gold mines for
They can be. I agree.
The pressure's gone. You're not high strung about I have to make a play, otherwise the whole team loses. The city hates me. It's all right, I'm getting paid a couple $1 million to go out here and just run around,
have some fun. Right. Yeah, or try to hit incentives and stuff. I get that, but still, that's where my mind goes when I'm thinking about that stuff. So yeah,
one guy I would consider selling. I don't own him anywhere. I do like to be transparent. So, I don't know if this is, that affects it. I do not own Chuba Hubbard anywhere. But if I did, I think now is maybe the time that you should part with him. He's been a 0 RB strategy hero so far. He really popped off once Andy Dalton took over in week 3. But since week 3, his fantasy scoring has progressively gone down each and every week. He's no longer been quite as cool each week. It just had his worst yards per carry this week at 3.9. He's got Denver defense coming up next week. Jonathan Brooks is on the edge of coming back. I think Hubbard has done enough to warrant the lead job there for the foreseeable future, but I don't think he's going to have a total bell cow status down the stretch. I think they want to get Brooks involved. Which is going to be even more annoying because it's Hubbard's still the number 1, but he just isn't going to be as dominating in that regard. So I think trading him away now, you can probably trade him in the strong RB2 range, a high-end RB2, when I think he finishes probably in the low RB2 to even flex range. So I think ride that high that he's been on and then try to push him off now.
Yeah, especially with, Jonathan Brooks. He's going to be sneaking opportunities. He's going to be stealing from them. Obviously, the Panthers aren't on an upward trend. So you could probably get somebody way more consistent looking forward, looking ahead, if that fantasy manager is not paying attention to what might be happening in that backfield. All right, moving into buy options. So again, these are players that you should buy. I'm looking, a little bit ahead as far as what might be great from a matchup standpoint. This week my guy is James Conner. This week he has a very difficult matchup against the Chargers. They have one of the best run defenses, so I think it's a great time to see how he does. I'm not confident in how he might perform this week. He might underproduce, but these are some crazy numbers for James Conner. James Conner has been top 5 in red zone attempts inside the 20. He is top 10 in the league with 90 opportunities, and he's top 25 in targets. And in week 14 through 17, he's going up against Seattle, New England, Carolina, who for some of us, that might be our Super Bowl game, our championship game, who if you get any 17? Matchups, that's 16. So based on your league.
Oh, okay.
And then the Rams is 17. So I did 14 through 17 for these weeks. So
got it.
he's got great, like one of the best late running back matchups from a fantasy perspective. He's going to produce probably throughout the year simply because of, him being so involved in opportunities. So I think he's a great buy option either now or even, looking ahead in the future. Sneaky.
He's just been such an unsung hero. His entire career just keeps producing, keeps getting overlooked. So yeah, I love that pick. The guy I'm looking to buy low this week, the guy I feel like you've talked about a couple times, is Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, man.
Miami Dolphins, it has just been rough for them in the post-Tua world or intermittent Tua world. And Tua is hopefully, possibly coming back. We'll see. But I mean, Waddle's a guy who was our wide receiver 16 on our draft kit before the season. Right. And so anyone owning him has to be just completely disheartened. In the last 5 games, his highest yards is 46. His most receptions is 4 in a game. So I mean, they got to be so
bad.
They got to be just a broken man at this point. So the owner might hold him out just out of principle, out of spite. Like, I know Tua's coming back. Don't come after me. Like, I get it. It might not be an easy thing, but I think it's worth just putting some feelers out there to seeing how they value him. Even if they're like, no, he's going to be good. There's no way they're valuing him as like the wide receiver 16 that we thought he was.
No.
You could probably get him as like the wide receiver, like 20 to 30 range and like a draft chart value. So I think he's a good buy right now.
Yeah, I agree. Like I would just send offers, like literally just send offers to the guy for wide receivers that maybe your bench guys you're not too optimistic on, and see if it hits. And if it does, great. If not, like no big deal. But yeah, you gotta buy Dolphins players, Tua, Tyreek, Achane if you can before he comes back. And Tua literally, so in press conference today, they asked him, they were like, we're worried about you. Are you going to wear a guardian cap? He was like, no, I'm not. And he said, I appreciate, this is an exact quote. I appreciate your concern. I love the game and I love it to the death of me. So he
what a lunatic.
He is ready to play. So that my man is getting out there. So we can expect him to be the old Tua and, maybe not run as aggressively. Hopefully, we want his health to be good, but you got to buy low on these Dolphins players while you can. I think Tyreek had 2 targets and Waddle had 1, or they had a total of combined 4 this past week. It was abysmal.
Yeah, it was rough. Yeah, it was rough.
I mean, you probably can't start those guys without including Tyreek until Tua comes back, honestly. It's a tough call, but yeah, personally. All right, so the next buy option I have, and this is going to probably come out of left field, is Breece Hall. I know a couple weeks ago I was like, hey, Breece Hall is a sell high kind of guy right now. And with the coaching change, he has been way more involved. Like the second I talked about that, their head coach got fired. He was at a 60-40 split with Breland Allen, and now he's like 80-20, the only target, the only guy they're going to. I don't need to go through his stats. I don't need to go through, his data, but strength of schedule is disgusting in the playoffs. He has Miami, Jacksonville, Rams, and Buffalo, and we're talking some of the worst rush defenses in the league. I would trade away my running back 1, even if it was the King, even if it was Derrick Henry. I'd probably give him up as the season went on to kind of roster Breece Hall. Not Saquon, no. Not Saquon. So that's the one example.
Okay.
Saquon's strength of schedule is slightly worse than his. And I was going to talk about Saquon maybe an episode or 2 from now. But King Henry's schedule, he has a week 14 bye, which is gross based on your playoffs. And I don't know who he's playing in the last couple weeks, but they are great against the run. Not that, that matters much against King Henry, but still, I'm taking, worse defenses and Breece Hall over the best defenses and King Henry in that setting. So just something to think about. something to consider. Obviously, you got to sell. You got to make a great value, great trade to get Breece Hall. But I just wanted to throw that out there now for that strength of schedule and how it's looked from a playing perspective.
Would you be a little concerned that the Jets have fallen to 2-5?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a worry. Like, that's a huge concern. Huge concern. I mean, any team that isn't competing, especially when we're talking about week 16 and, they're out of it. Like, are they going to play Breece that same amount? I agree. You got to be worried about that. So, yes, 100%. And those are the same things, including strength of schedule, you have to take into account are how is your team competing or not? So, I would be worried, and that's something you got to definitely keep an eye on. Again, I'm not going out necessarily. I mean, you could buy Breece Hall right now, but again, this isn't like a go out and get this guy right this second. It's let's see how the season progresses. Trade deadline's going to be coming up maybe in 3 weeks. What was that? Yeah.
Just understand he's going to have a strong finish and act accordingly.
Absolutely. If they don't, go to 2-10 by the time it gets there, 2-12, right? So,
jeez.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to move into the play of the week. Alex, I'm actually going to let you start the play of the week because I've been talking for a little bit.
All right, well, looking back, last week was probably my first real stinker on my play of the week. I had a good run. But
Finally.
Man, Deontay Johnson.
Finally. You got a bad one.
Johnson.
No.
The Panthers were just completely inept against the Chargers.
Yeah,
ended with one catch on 3 targets for 17 yards. It was on the first drive, and then literally never caught the ball again. In my defense,
injury issue. That was baloney.
So,
sorry.
In my defense, we record on a Monday. As the week went on, little things kept adding up. On Yahoo, they literally had his injury designation as, quote, everything. It wasn't even one thing. It was it actually
I've never
wrote
seen
out
that before.
Everything. I should have screenshot it. I didn't, but I was just like,
hilarious.
I was like, what is happening?
I love it.
All right, it was a little rough. I'll take it on the chin. Not my best work. This week, my start of the week, I'm loving Joe Mixon against the Colts. Mixon's been looking good in his 2 games back from that short little injury. The Colts have the second worst run defense in the league.
Yeah.
The Texans should have a nice early lead based off a quick Anthony Richardson pick 6. It's inevitable. First 1 or 2 drives, it's going to pick 6, and then the Texans clearly like Mixon in the bell cow role. That was proven this week. He had 28 opportunities compared to Dare and Dameon Pierce combining for only 4 opportunities. So he's getting all the work. They're gonna be up. They're just gonna be cruising. I think he breezes to 135 yards on the ground with a score, plus an extra 4 catches for 25.
Okay, massive. 150 all-purpose. Massive. Yeah, I mean, great matchup, great player, great pick. That offense is going to be humming. They should get up early. They should feed them the rock. All the things should happen there. So I'm on board with this pick. Last week, I picked an entire game like I do. I picked the Vikings versus Detroit. Literally all players involved went off, like I predicted. However, I did say that they were going to hit 300 yards each and 3 touchdowns. That might have been a little aggressive because I was surprised how involved the ground game was. Like Aaron Jones had almost 100 yards in the ground. Gibbs was running all over him. Yeah, I mean, don't you dare talk bad about my Gibbs ever again. He is now running back 7 on the season.
Yo. And then you see Monty left the game for a little bit. I was like, man. I was like, Gibbs is about to go stratosphere.
That's what I thought. I was like, it is over. Gibbs is just going parabolic. He came back. He should be okay, by the way, based on what
he did.
Yeah. So he should be fine. Thankfully, that's a good thing. But so, I predicted the 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, didn't quite hit. However, if you started Goff or Darnold, you were still good. Goff went for 280, 2 touchdowns. Darnold went for 160, 1 touchdown. Both of them put up more than 20 points, very serviceable. And the rest of the players were great. My pick of the week, my easy pick of the week is going to be your Bucs versus Atlanta for obvious reasons. This should be a points fest. Another points fest, honestly. The Bucs are getting some great
500
matchups.
again.
The Bucs are getting great matchups, dude. I mean,
they're a
I
little
know
stressful when you're in it, but
I was about to say, yeah. I mean, they're tough matchups for y'all to play.
yeah.
But like they are great from a fantasy perspective. And when you asked me, I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago, if Mike Evans and Chris Godwin can both be top 10 serviceable wide receivers, I absolutely should have looked at strength of schedule and looked at that. I still, it's tough, but they are getting the matchups to be able to do it. But my pick of the week doesn't even have to do with that game. So my sneaky pick of the week.
I'll add in.
Yeah.
We haven't even gotten to play the Panthers yet, man. We still got 2 games against the Panthers. Yes. That hasn't happened.
That just blows my mind. So go out and get every Bucs player, wide receiver, quarterback that you can, because strength schedule is off the charts. But my sneaky pick of the week, and I might be a little crazy here, is Javonte Williams. So the Broncos just brought back Mike McGlinchey, who is their right tackle. He's just back from IR. He came back about the Saints, and he made a clear difference in the trenches. Estamine fumbled like almost immediately. Javonte looked electric, and the Broncos are playing the Panthers this week. Talking about playing the Panthers, they are allowing 33 points to opposing teams, number 1 in the league. They are top 5 worse against the run, and they're giving up 155 rush yards a game. I think Javonte is going to have back-to-back good games, 100 all-purpose yards, 1 touchdown. So I think you can start him confidently.
Yeah, I mean it was fun to. That was probably one of the best Javonte's NFL career games in a while.
Yeah.
Like it was nice to see because I know he's been going through, been a long struggle for him to like almost be relevant. Is it going to be good or not? And then finally peace out. And it was nice to see the Saints get just embarrassed on national television. The only thing is, yeah, I wonder if, because, 2 weeks ago against the Saints, we had Sean Tucker and Bucky just explode against them. And then Javonte looks insane. So I'm like, maybe the Saints defense is just that bad that it makes everybody look good. I don't know. We'll see. But
yeah, I mean, are we saying that the Saints defense is that much better than the Panthers, though? Like, I mean, are you gonna?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
I mean,
you're right.
So yeah, but that makes sense. No, I got you. Yeah, the Saints aren't a great defense to go up against either, but. So all right. Well, those are our picks. Those are our waiver ads. If you like what you heard, give us a like and subscribe. If not, that's cool too. Thanks for just hanging out with us. As always, go steal a championship, and we'll see y'all later.
Peace.